Yeah, I mean, we have lots of different levels of the way that we use it, but we have three sort of core groups, I guess, if you like. We have official accounts, which are things like Guardian Environment, Guardian Media, Guardian Tech, and so on, which are, I guess, our channels or our sites, which are tweeting in the style of the site, and usually it's quite broadcast. Usually they're telling people what's on the site, what they can expect to see, and how they can get involved. We then have a level of recognizable faces of the Guardian, I guess is what you'd call it, which would be essentially people who are bylined authors. That's another way of thinking about it, or people who are official representatives of the Guardian. So I'm like myself, but Janine Gibson, our editor, and any of our writers or columnists, they might also sort of fit into that category. And they tend to be writing or tweeting in their own style, and we will support them in helping to sort of tweet in their own style, but at the same time providing them with support and access and information about how they can kind of tweet in ways that will, or how they can use Twitter to sort of further their journalism or to support what they're doing. So it tends to be a little more conversational, tends to be a bit more personality based, but we don't tell them what to say. We educate them in how Twitter works, and then we trust them to get on with it. And the third group is people who happen to work at the organisation and have Twitter accounts, who shouldn't be treated in exactly the same way as everybody else because they're not tweeting on behalf of The Guardian. They just happen to work there. And sometimes they might want to say things that are about, the fact that they support a football team or that they like a particular article, and we should just educate them about the risks and the opportunities and let them go on with it.
You're also putting Twitter messages into a different context. If you go to the science page, yeah. you see the relevant... So you're using technology to do this?
Yes, we've built our own technologies to do this, to basically use Twitter in interesting ways on our own site. And that's partly because we think Twitter is a really interesting way of reflecting what's going on in the world. But if you notice that everywhere that we include Twitter on the site, it either goes through a human process, as in it's an editor selecting things to include in a live blog, for example, or it goes through a technical process, which is, for example, a whitelist that's been put together by humans that says, these are people that we trust, that are relevant on this particular topic, and that we will include. So an example of that would be including the tweets of our science correspondents on the articles that they write, or alongside the articles that they write. It makes total sense because we trust those people and we trust their authority on those particular subjects. But what we're not doing is randomly including tweets from around the web on our site and then putting adverts around it, because that's not our model.
Do you trust Facebook?
Do we trust Facebook? Well, I think lots of people trust Facebook, and Facebook absolutely has a use. I think it's a different use from Twitter. I think Twitter tends to be a bit more conversational, and Facebook is a little more about creating simple relationships. I'm a fan of this, I like that, or whatever. So we trust it in the sense that we're using it to do some interesting things, like we did some great stuff with them during the election in terms of the live debate coverage and so on. But there's obviously some questions, not just from us, but from the audience around privacy and around those relationships and where they're going and what they're doing. So how much does anyone trust Facebook? Well, that's how much we trust them.